Glow Moguls. It's your boy, the one with the scar face, your boy Scarface, and today we're bringing you another episode. Thank you guys to everybody who always tunes in every week. I really do appreciate you guys give us a 5-star thumbs up wherever you're listening to. Shout out to everybody who comes over from the TikToks. I really do appreciate you guys. You guys have been helping making this podcast grow drastically. I really do appreciate it. I love making this content for you guys, and I love it when you guys are like, I love the podcast, I love this, I love that. Thank you guys. Thank you for always watching, always tuning in. And it motivates me to continue making content for you guys. So that's why I don't stop, because I know you guys listen to it. I know you guys share it, and I know you guys like it. So thank you guys again. Thank you. And also, if you want to keep supporting, just give us a thumbs up or leave us a review wherever you're at. 5-star thumbs up on YouTube. Video versions are on YouTube and Spotify, just a heads up. And also, we do sell these pins as well. Shout out to everyone who's been purchasing them. I don't know if it'll lock in on one, but there you go. There's the straight razor. We have a little baseball one. It keeps locking into my head. That's what I hate. I'm showing the camera for those people listening. And then we have that Goku one as well, the one that I'm always wearing. And I think it's on this one. Oh no, I don't have a pin on this one. Oh, need to put one on. But again, thank you guys. I am going to be in Las Vegas this weekend too as well, because I know you guys are going to be listening to this on Monday. I will be going to see the Don Omar concert, so shout out to everyone that's going to be there. If you see me vibing out, you did it. No pasa nada, no pasa nada, okay? But there's something serious I wanted to start this podcast episode of, because, you know, your boy kind of fucked up. Yeah, so just gonna come out and say it. I think your boy is going to be a father. Pull-out champ title has been taken. You know, that's what I get for not, you know, when you get drunk, you just start smashing, you start doing things, and then next thing you know, you don't know, like, you just finish, you're telling her you're gonna finish, you really don't push her off. And, you know, mistakes have happened, okay? And so, yeah, I wanted to start off the podcast like that. Just so you guys know, fully transparent with you guys, and just letting you guys know how, you know, the things that happen in my life, and the thing, you know, because like I said, I'm always fully transparent with you guys. And, you know, psych, if you're listening this far and you thought I was actually pregnant, you thought I was gonna lose my pull-out champ, psych, April Fools. Happy April Fools. Hopefully some people believe me. No, your boy know what he's doing out there. That's why, like, pull-out champ certified, okay? You know, double stamp that one. I just wanted to start it off like that, just because it is April Fool's. The podcast episode never lands on April Fool's Day. You know, it's always like around. So I was like, hey, let me start it off like this. And so, no, I'm not going to be a dad, none of that. So don't think anything like that. But I did want to talk about, like, parents and those type of relationship, because some of the popular topics that have been, you know, popping off on my TikTok and Instagram is people tend to stay together because of kids, right? And I always say, you know, I get that you're trying to make it work and trying to keep this family together, but sometimes that's not the best way to do it. You know, it's not the best way to raise a happy home, because if you guys are constantly arguing, constantly, you know, toxic environment, the kids are going to pick up on that. You know, the kids are going to pick up on that, and then you're going to, you know, people have said it all the time on the TikToks that they prefer somebody who, or they not prefer, but they would have rather had their parents separate, you know, and have two separate happy homes than one toxic environment. I get it, but sometimes that's not the best option. I know that that's what you may think is the best option, but they pick up on that. They pick up on the energies of you guys arguing, resentment towards each other and things like that. You can't just hide it and be like, oh no, we're perfectly fine. No, they pay attention to the arguing. They pay attention to the non-communication, not happy. You know, like when you argue with somebody, you're not obviously like all lovey-dovey with them. You know, there's like issues going on there. So that's why, like, they pick up on that type of stuff. And again, I try to reinforce that, you know, sometimes that's not the best option. And some people also say, you know, it's difficult when they like the other person say like the man is the breadwinner and it's a little bit more difficult. See, and that's just another thing you're making an excuse for. Instead of put yourself in the position that you need to put yourself to be able to leave, using that as an excuse is only like that's an excuse. Oh, he provides for everything. Okay, I get it. I understand that. But now like maybe in the future you won't let this happen again. Let like be solely reliant on this person. And I get it. That's how the man should be. They should provide and things like that. But sometimes like stuff like this will happen, and then now you're stuck. So I always recommend, like I always tell people, like just put yourself in the position that that may be the situation now, but you can always fix that. So you're just gonna sit here and like live in this toxicity, negativity just because they pay for your stuff. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't make sense in my head, right? Why would you stay with somebody just because they're paying for the stuff? Fuck, I'll go get a job. I'll go pay for my shit instead of having to deal with this bullshit all the time. That's how I would see it. Again, it's a little bit more difficult for girls. Okay, I'm not just saying like go out there and get a job, and like it's a little bit more difficult because depending on where you live, it may be more expensive. But there's always options. Talk to friends, talk to family members. There's options to get out of that situation because, again, I don't have any kids, so I really don't run into this issue. Meaning, like I don't have to I don't take care of kids. The only kids I got are the ones that could go on you or in you and pull out champ. Okay, just letting you guys know. So again, people are like, how can you talk about? I think this is how I would be in that type of situation. If I was unhappy with somebody, why would we put kids through that? Just take yourself growing up. Were your parents, was it a happy home? Was it like constant arguing where you were like, fuck, like they would just argue and fight all the time, like that weighs on you. I've always talked about it too. My parents, of course, everybody in every relationship have arguments, they fight and stuff like that. But my parents really didn't, like, if they were, they still have date nights, they still travel, they still do all sorts of stuff together. They've just kept it interesting. Yeah, of course, they've had their arguments, they've had their things, but it's never been like that, like every day. You're just like, why won't this stop? No, it was just like an argument. Who knows what it was about, maybe this, maybe about that. But they've never, like we've never felt that. We're like, oh my God, like all they do is argue, all they do is fight, man. Like, why won't they? What is happy? A happy home. And you need to show that. And that's why I always like shout out to the single moms, the single dads that end up leaving just because they don't want to be stuck in that toxic environment. Because they pick up on it. Like I say it all the time, they pick up on it. Like whether you like it or not, they are going to pick up on it. So. Sorry, I was taking a drink. Just because I wanted to talk about that, because do not stay with somebody just because of a happy home or you want to keep a happy home. No, it's just a toxic environment. You don't want none of that, because that's trauma on the kid later on. If you've seen some of these kids, like, oh, they've grown up in abusive households, they've grown up in abusive, like, their parents were abusive to them and things like that. So you have to really pay attention because when you're a kid, that's where your learning is at all time high. That's why you're able to learn so many things. That's why you put kids through so many things in the beginning, because they're able to learn so quickly. Like now, compared to now, like if you teach somebody like a language and another language, they can learn that really easy when they're a kid. Now it's a little bit more difficult. Like if you want to learn more languages, once you get older, that learning is a little bit harder. Don't believe me. Like it's like a whole ass study about this shit. Okay, like I've watched documentaries, read some books and stuff like that. It's so much easier to learn new skills when you're younger, and that's where they pick up on everything too. They're soaking up everything. That's why they're. Have you ever seen a toddler explore? They're like just like looking at everything, taking everything in. Excited over everything. Every time my nephew sees a tree, he's like, tree, super excited. So I'm telling you, they learn things. They're picking up on everything. And so if all they know is a home where it's just nothing but negativity, that's all they know. So maybe even when they get into a relationship, it's just going to be nothing but negativity too. So you have to think about that. Like you messed up in the relationship is going to bring them up being in another messed up relationship because that's what they know. That's what they grew up seeing. Uh, Again, I've never grown up seeing that type of stuff. Uh, Been nothing but great in my household. You know, obviously, like you argue with your parents and things like that. Normal things, normal growing pains. Um, you think you know everything when you're a fucking kid. It's funny because yesterday I had a gig yesterday for the 360 booth. So people don't know I ran out 360 booths, a 360 booth and a mirror booth, and I usually send my little brother and my brother-in-law. Shout out to them. They hold it down. But we were at a high school. They had some sort of school event, right? And shout out to all the kids that were there. You know, they loved the 360 booth. They had a lot of fun. But me and my brother and I, we were talking about how he's like, dang, he's like, did I look like that when I was in high school? And I was like, yo, because they're kids, you can see that they're kids, right? Like you could see a difference between someone who's in high school and then someone who's like, say, for example, like a 35-year-old like myself. It's not the same. Like sometimes I look back and see some of the things that I did when I was in high school, middle school, and I'm just like, what was I doing? Like, what was I thinking? And Diego was the same. Like he was a little. He's still kind of shy. He was a lot shy, but he looked like a little kid. Now he looks like a grown ass adult, especially because he fucking grew a lot. But uh, he it was just like that whole like thinking back. I'm like, damn. Like I remember I used to act like some of these. I used to think I was the shit. You know, like walking around. Like there was this one kid I saw that he was like walking around and you. He didn't really dance, but I'm sure he really wanted to dance. Like, because I remember in my high school days, right? I thought it was a cholo. I thought it was a thug. Really wasn't. But he, I've always watched people and like I would make fun of them and be like, oh, they're out there looking stupid. But low key, I kind of actually wanted to be out there. It just wasn't cool with my friends. You know, they weren't out there doing that type of stuff. So, of course, it wasn't cool. So that's why I wasn't out there. But later on that obviously changed for me just because I said, fuck it, I'm gonna do whatever I want, even if you make fun of me. So that I thought that was a pretty cool, like, just looking back. That's why like growing, especially with both my nephews, I'm trying to talk to my older nephew a little bit more, but he's going through that his whole like teenage phase, right? Like he knows everything. He's cool. Or something's too cool for him. Before he would be like all involved, and now he just like sits on his phone, sits on the iPad the whole time. It's too cool. Hey, Jaden, what are you doing? None. That's it. I'm just like, damn, bro. Line up. But my other nephew, Milo, he's all over the place. So that's why like they pick up on everything. Granted, Gio and my sister are great parents. They happy home. They treat him, very well. And I'm sure they don't try to fight because they really don't fight. Well, that I know of. I've never seen it, so it must be good. But being around like a happy environment, a good environment, because he loves my parents, his grandma, grandpa, and my brothers too. Like we're all super cool with him. And just growing up in that type of environment is just way better. So when he gets older, he's gonna be like, yeah, this was cool. Like there was never like a bunch of drama, negativity, people fighting, arguments. No, like none of that. And because he's going to pick up on that. Just mainly, that's why it's a little bit different from my older nephew, because he kind of saw some of that stuff. So he's like a little bit more, like you start noticing things, especially when they get older. So that's why like the whole reason I'm talking about this stuff is they pick up on a lot of stuff. They like when they get older. I've even talked to some people like when their parents were like in high school, or not in high school, when they were in high school, their parents would just argue and, they really didn't want to be home. That's why they would always want to be out. They would always want to do something. Sometimes they would hit me up, hey, let's go do this. Hey, let's go do that. I'm like, damn, bro, like, do you not like just go home and chill? But at the time I didn't know going home and chilling for him was just being around that. And he didn't want to be around that. He's just like, it was fucking horrible. Like I didn't want to be there. And as soon as he turned 18, he dipped out. Like he dipped out because he was like, he didn't want to be around that. But ever since then, he's had a bunch of like struggling relationships, just because I'm sure that had a lot to do with it, even though they're not going to be like, it was because of that. That's why he's like that. Well, he was around that all the time. So that's what he mainly knows. So that's why, again, like, think about it. If you're having arguments with your partner, whoever the case may be, like, just think about the kids. If you're doing it for the kids, you know how people, you stay together for the kids. You know, are you staying together for the kids, or are you staying because you don't want uh somebody over here saying like, oh, you know, they're like, they separated, they broke up a family and stuff. Now, who gives a fuck what they think? At the end of the day, again, I always say you have to worry about you and yourself, because nobody else is going to worry about you. If they want to say something because you guys separated, cool, let them say something. You know, maybe they're stuck in this a relationship they don't want to be in, but they want to sit here and point fingers and judge at everybody else. So don't be afraid of being judged, because that was another. I remember I had another one-on-one with somebody else, and she was basically saying that 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 she didn't leave because it wasn't tradition in their family, like, you know, their culture or whatever. I was like, so you're gonna stay stuck in an unhappy home because of a culture thing? And I get it, I respect everybody's culture, but so you're telling me, according to your culture, even if your relationship is fucked up, like, you gotta stay in it? Like, that's it? No, sorry, you chose the wrong guy. Or you got matched with the wrong. No, like, why? We're only here for a small amount of time. You know, if you really think about it, why would you want to spend it with somebody who's treating you like shit, beating you up, doing all this stuff to you? Like, why would you stay? You know, and I don't know if there was like any physical abuse with her, but I do know that they were constantly fighting, constantly arguing. Uh, it was mainly downs for her. So that's why, you know, and luckily she said that her kids were super young at the time, and maybe hopefully they didn't get affected by it, because by the time she realized that it was going to be better for her to leave, she left, you know, because again, she said it too. She's like, if I like, because I followed up with her later on, if she's going to do this for the kids, you need to leave. You know, at that, like, her type of situation, you need to leave, because it would be better for you to grow up and have them grow up with two separate happy homes than one toxic ass home, you know? And sometimes the hardest thing that we have to do is actually, you know, the thing that we don't want to do, but it's the right thing to do, you know? Or how do I say it? Like, usually the right thing you're supposed to do is probably the hardest thing to do. And for example, like, when I didn't want to leave an ex because, you know, just a bunch of different things, but it was really hard to finally end it. But at the end of the day, I knew it was the right thing to do, because she wasn't happy, I wasn't happy. And like, how long were we going to do this more? You know, like, how much longer were we going to do this? And then finally, you know, I said, you know, like, basically we were done. And then you sit there in your thoughts, obviously, like, you're like, dang, like, some other guy's gonna reach out to her, and, you know, some other guy's gonna be this, and that, and like, you start feeling some type of way. But then at the same time, you're like, maybe it's better, because like, this shit was not working out. How, like, uh, even if we try to work it out, is it gonna work? Like, we've tried it so many fucking times, like, so many times, and it didn't work. So that's why, like, take other people's experiences for example, you know, like, as an example. Did it work for them? What are some of the things? What are some of the things that they notice now that they wish they would have noticed? You know, maybe they realized that it was just a constant cycle, and then you need to learn that they're not going to change after a few times of getting on top of them about something or arguing about something. That just no. Uh, uh, so again, I'm like really appreciative of my parents, that obviously that I grew up in a, you know, I never got to experience a bad household like that. And that's why, like, you know, I don't know how it is growing up with something like that, just because, again, you really don't know until you experience stuff. That's why, like, a lot of these topics I'm able to touch on and, you know, give some solid advice, because I've experienced some of this stuff. I've done some of this stuff, you know, and that's why. But growing up in a bad household, didn't happen. It didn't happen. My parents have been great, and they brought you up the best that they know how. It's not like anybody has a handbook on this. There's no handbook on there like this is what you got to do and they'll grow up amazing. No. When you have kids, they start acting up. You start doing things like I thought my nephew was like the sweetest kid, but then I found out he was like doing a bunch of shit at school, getting suspended. And I'm like, what the hell? you know? Um, that's why I'm saying, like, and I'm not even his parent, I'm just the uncle. But that's why I say, like, you don't know, like, there's no right way to raise somebody. But I do know in what environment I don't want to raise somebody. Like, if I was with somebody and we were constantly arguing like that, hell no. Like, think about that. Like, would you want to be around that? Or if you were around that growing up? Because first of all, like, another reason for that is I hate drama. Like, I don't like to fight. I don't like to do any of that stuff. Like, but don't mistake that for me. I'll beat the shit out of you. Like, when I tell people that when I don't like to fight, people mistake that for like me being, I just don't want the drama. Like, I don't want to be fighting, because then what happens? We fight, and then what's next? You see each other in a couple weeks, and then all of a sudden it's on again. You can't go somewhere because now it's uncomfortable because you got in a fight with this dude. And, like, it's just a bunch of drama I just avoid. I'm always like, all right, whatever, cool, I'm out. Like, fuck this. And like, you can act all macho and be like, oh, I'm scared. Nah, I'm just avoiding this. And I always tell people I got a lot to lose. Some people don't got much to lose. And so that's why I'm just like, I got a lot to lose, and you're not worth it. You're not worth me being like, oh, like, I'm going to try to fight you and like ruin everything I got going on. So yeah, that's why I'm like, nah, I got too much to lose to be doing this little kid shit. So, and I had a conversation about that with my little brother yesterday too, about how there's people still in their 30s, 40s on their stupid high school BS, and sometimes you just tell them like, bro, grow the fuck up. Like, you're 30 something years old and you're still out there trying to look for fights. Like, grow up. So yes, and another thing that I wanted to touch on, just because people are always thinking that I never. So last year, enough time has gone by so we can talk about some of these things. Usually if a year goes by, it gets like written off your resume and stuff like that. So I was trying to talk to this one chick last year, right? The beginning of the year. That's why, like, year's over. We could talk about it now, because if she still follows me, what's up? Why are you following me? But the reason I wanted to talk about this, and is because people always ask me, like, why? What does it mean when I say I check out quick? What does it mean? Like, what type of scenario? So everything was going good with this chick, right? Like, it was going good. We were talking back and forth, calling each other, FaceTiming. Everything was going great. It seemed like she was into me. I was into her, and she lived in California, and I went to go see her, and everything was great. Everything was great. And then the reason it did not work out, because, like, again, I'm like over here saying everything was great, everything was vibing, we were vibing, everything was going great. But when I came back, it was her birthday not too long ago, after that, and we were still talking, everything was going great. But then, like, it got kind of shady somewhere. You know what I mean? Like, to me, it almost felt like she was talking to somebody else, or she was like, because again, that night she had gone out, she went to go hang out with her friends, and then it was like at 3 a.m. I get a text message, and it didn't seem like it was for me. It was kind of seemed like she was trying to link with somebody, right? And so that's why, like, I tried calling her. She didn't pick up. And then I was like, all right, cool, whatever. Like, I know what this is, fuck her. And in my head, I was like, fuck her. I was like, I see what this is. Like, she's out there still messing around with other guys. And I'm like, that's cool. That's what she wants to do. Cool. I'm not going to be involved in this. But then, like, she called back and she's like, oh, no, like, this is what I meant. I was like, no, like, that's, like, she tried to explain it to me while she was drunk. And I was just like, nah, not having it. And so that's why, like, in my head, I'm like, I was doing better off solo, like, single, than having to have these thoughts go through my head. Like, is she talking to somebody else? Is she messing around with somebody else? You know, like, how do I know, like, I'm over here and she's out there just, like, messing around with a bunch of dudes? You know what I mean? Like, I start thinking, I'm like, I don't want to feel like that. I don't want to have that weird feeling in my stomach. I don't want to be thinking thoughts like that. So that's why I'm just like, I told her, I was like, nah, I was like, we're good. And she got all pissed off after that just because she's like, that's why you're going to, I'm like, yeah. I was like, I don't want to feel like that. I already felt like that, like, because of that message. And so that's why I'm like, I don't like feeling like this, you know, like when you're single and not having to like talk, you're not talking to anybody, you don't have to report to anybody. None of that shit bothered you. Like, I would have known her. She talking to some other dude. I don't care, you know, but when you start talking to somebody and making that connection, then you start feeling that type of way. That's why I was like, I hate this feeling. I fucking hate it. Like, feeling that she's being shady, something's going on, that gut feeling, you know, making you sick. And I didn't even sleep the rest of that night just because I was like, she's out messing around with some other dude, you know? And I'm like, I'm thinking over here, she's vibing with me. We had been talking for a little while. And so that's why I was like, little while, I would say like couple months, right? Like, which is still more than I invest into anybody. And so I just cut it off like that. And she got mad. She's like, wow, just like that. And I'm like, yep, just like that. I just don't. You make me feel that type of way, especially in the very beginning. I'm like, in my head, I'd rather be single and then having to deal with this BS. So that's why I was like, yeah, I'm done. Like, I'm not. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. Like, I remember I kept telling her that I was like, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't want to feel like this. Like, this fucking sucks. This feeling. Even though she's like, no, that's not even what it was and stuff like that. And I'm just like, it's sometimes you just got to trust your gut feeling because, you know, was she messing around with somebody else? I don't know. I didn't wait to find out, you know. So that's why, but I didn't want to feel like that. When I'm vibing with somebody and you're vibing with me, let's see where things go. Like, I stopped talking to people. I stopped messing around with people, and just focus on you. And if you can't do the same, because I don't got time to do that shit. Like, people are always like, I'm sure you got a roster. I'm sure this, I'm sure that. I got too much shit to do. Like, you know, I'm focusing on my hustle, my grind, my career. I'm doing all that stuff. It's very hard to give your attention to a bunch of different girls, right? So, you know, that's why, I mean, that happened last year, and I wanted to give you guys that example and that experience because it happens, you know, and I always like, I don't tell you just to do something and I don't do it. And that's why I wanted to, you know, talk about this, is because it's something, again, if I feel something's off, if I feel like the vibe is off, if I feel my gut feeling, trust your gut feeling at the end of the day. And that's what I did. And I just cut it off. Don't get me wrong. This girl was gorgeous. Like, she was fine. But sometimes gorgeous is fine doesn't mean that you should stay with them. Because I could have been like, oh, yeah, you know, because I showed a picture of her to like a buddy and she was like, damn, you messing, like, that's the girl you talking to. And I'm like, yeah, you know. But instead of staying with her just because of the looks, and I was like, nah, I don't want to be feeling like that. That's why, again, I'm fully transparent on the podcast. That's why you guys love it and you guys appreciate my experiences. Of course, I didn't want to talk about that right away because instantly I know people would go into my likes, posts, comments, and anything and try to figure out who it was or something like that. So I'm thinking. So that's why I was like, nah, I won't talk about it now. I'll just talk about it some other time. But I wanted you guys to know that I do that. Like, I do what I tell you guys to do. I do trust my gut feeling because, again, it could have led down a bad path where, like, later on I found out she was messing around with the dude at the same time we had been talking for like a year, right? You know, things like that. So I just avoided that whole situation, which is a good and bad thing because maybe it wasn't the case. Maybe it could have led to something great, but I just cut it off right then and there. But, you know, I would rather cut it off right then and there than to waste a bunch of time with somebody and then it happened later on. That's why sometimes I don't understand like how some people can go 5-year situationships, 10-year situationships, 20 years, or friends with benefits. Come on now. Like, I don't even know how you guys can do that. So, but I just wanted to explain that to you guys, give you guys my experience on that. And there's some other experiences I'm going to talk with you guys. But these come out as, over time. We're not going to release everything. I'm not going to get like something's going to happen this past weekend and I'll be like, yo, guess what happened? No, because then people will start putting two and two together. Instead, I give a little bit of time and then I talk about it. So, but again, so this weekend, again, I will be in Las Vegas. I'm going to be posting about it and things like that. So if you guys see me, say what's up. Don't be afraid. And then Monday, there probably won't be a podcast episode because I come back Sunday. And depending on how hungover I am, I might be able to make one. If not, just a heads up, there might not be an episode next Monday, just letting you guys know. But then the following week is going to be like a whole recap of what happened on the weekend. Like, I'm also thinking, and so instead of not having a podcast episode, I might try to do some sort of vlog. That way you guys have something to watch, like maybe what I did the whole weekend and stuff like that. So, but anyways, I want to thank you guys for always tuning in, always tuning into the T. Sorry I had to get you guys in the very beginning, but that was like a hook right there. Yo, like, I had to do it. Come on, it's April 1st. I have a sense of humor here. If you didn't find it funny, like, something's wrong with you. Okay, I thought it was hilarious. And if you fell for it, next time check the date, homie. Check the date, homie. I'll see you guys.